Well, folks, I got to be honest with you. The one confirmation hearing that I've really been dreading is RFK Jr. I have been dreading that one ever since that Donald Trump picked him to be in charge of our health because this one's very personal to me. I buried two people who I love dearly because they bought into the kind of conspiracy theories that people like RFK Jr. has pushed out there into the world. And so it's always been one that's a big time sore spot for me. And the fact that Donald Trump would pick such a buffoon to be in charge of our health. You know, if you were sitting around writing a satirical comedy and you was trying to go for the most over-the-top, ridiculous idea to prove your point, then yeah, you would pick RFK Jr. because he'd be like, hey, you could you imagine if they put this dude in that spot? And if he was writing some kind of satirical skit, he might be an option. But when it's the real world, it's batshit insane that he was ever considered for this spot or ever. I mean, it's so crazy that the guy's still here. He's one of the biggest sellouts that there is. He will say anything for $1. He's proved that time and time again. And when people come up to me and go, well, but man, he is a Kennedy, I say to myself, you know nothing about politics, and you know nothing about American history, and you don't see this guy for the sellout that he is. And what he doesn't realize when he goes out there and sits down on these bro podcasts for hours on end and just quotes studies and quotes conspiracies that he's read on the internet, he doesn't realize that when he does that, that stuff sticks forever. And if you get in a confirmation hearing and it's kind of hard then to turn around and go, no, I didn't say that. At that point, no, buddy, we got you right here saying that. So watch how quickly this dude just completely wrecks himself. Take a look.
Did you say that exposure to pesticides causes children to become transgender?
No, I never said that. I think a lot of the problems we see in kids, and particularly boys, it's probably underappreciated that how much of that is coming from chemical exposures, including a lot of the sexual dysphoria that we're seeing. They're swimming through a soup of toxic chemicals today, and many of those are endocrine disruptors. There's atrazine throughout our water supply. Atrazine, by the way, if you in a lab put atrazine in a tank full of frogs, it will chemically castrate and forcibly feminize every frog in there, and 10% of the frogs, the male frogs, will turn into fully viable females able to produce viable eggs. If it's doing that to frogs, it could. There's a lot of other evidence that it's doing it to human beings as well.
And folks, if you just want to dive down into a well of watching RFK Jr. just contradict himself, there is reel after reel after reel out there of him saying, I never said that, and then immediately someone can show you him saying that exact thing, because he's someone who will just say whatever is popular for the moment to get himself over. And this is who Donald Trump wants in charge of health. But what I really believe that people needs to see is just how reckless this dude truly is and where he stands on these things. Here he is being asked about a woman who would be bleeding out, a life-threatening miscarriage. And look at what this guy has to say.
Pregnant woman with a life-threatening bleeding from an incomplete miscarriage goes to the ER, and her doctor also determines that she needs an emergency abortion. But she's in a state where abortion is banned. You would agree also as an attorney that federal law protects her right to that emergency care, correct?
I don't know.
But what authority do you have over this as the director of HHS?
What authority do I have?
Yeah, to enforce the law.
In what regards?
To make sure that a hospital that receives payment from Medicare is ensuring that they're providing the necessary emergency care to patients when they present. It's actually the EMTALA law. So what authority as HHS director do you have with respect to EMTALA?
My understanding is that I have budgetary power and that it's pretty much limited to that. But if you tell me I have another authority, I don't even think that.
Well, let me tell you,
we have a law enforcement branch at HHS.
Actually, you do, and that's CMS. CMS actually investigates complaints of EMTALA violations, as well as the Health and Human Services Inspector General, who, by the way, was just recently fired by Donald Trump. So you will be enforcing EMTALA laws, and it's important that you understand their impact and don't play politics with the patient presenting at the ER based on a position that this administration has taken.
So really stop and think about that answer, and then flash back to when Donald Trump said to him, yeah, Bobby, just go have fun with it. Yeah, just go have fun with Americans' health, and you can't even answer that question. But see, here's the thing. I'm not going to play the clip, but I've played it before on here, and since the election, I've stopped playing clips of Trump. But we all saw Trump once upon a time say that RFK Jr. was the most radical left. He was the most radical left ever on the subject of abortion. And here is RFK Jr. having that brought right to his face. And what happens? He does what he always does. He just stutters and doesn't know. This is painful to watch, but I think it's important we see this so we can understand the blatant hypocrisy of it all.
Abortion is a divisive issue in this country. I would say a majority of the people are pro-choice. There's a strong minority who are pro-life. A year and a half ago, you went to New Hampshire, running for president, gave a speech, and you talked about government should not tell a woman what she can do with her own body. That's her choice. Now, I think everybody on that side is pro-life. I think everybody here is pro-choice. I have never seen any major politician flip on that issue quite as quickly as you did when Trump asked you to become HHS secretary. Tell me why you think people should have confidence in your consistency and in your word when you really made a major U-turn on an issue of that importance in such a short time.
Senator, I believe, and I've always believed, that every abortion is a tragedy.
But you told the people in New Hampshire that it was their right.
So to all the MAGA Republicans who are still hanging in there at this point in the video, I would say to you is, how does it feel knowing that Trump gave this position to a guy who didn't always see it this way, who just back in 2023 was saying something completely different? So can you not see that he just said what he had to say to get a power, to get a spot? There's no authenticity to this dude at all. This is your batshit conspiracy theory uncle that tells you stuff at Thanksgiving that makes you scratch your head and walk away. This is the drunk at the end of the bar that when I used to be sitting out playing my gigs, I would sit and listen to him ramble on about stuff and just, whatever, and then would walk on stage and go, there's a lunatic back there, that thinks a woman gave birth to an elephant. I mean, that's what we're dealing with. And again, if we was trying to write some sort of ridiculous satirical comedy for Bob Odenkirk and David Cross to make a comeback and play, yeah, this would be a great idea, but this is our health. We're talking about the guy who would be in charge of that, and what qualifications does he have? Where is his medical degree? We're talking about a guy that just sits and talks about studies he read and things he heard on the internet. And that's the era, unfortunately, that we're in. We're in the era where those people have been given the microphone. It's not just Trump. It's his whole cabinet. It's everybody he's picked are just people who looks at the internet. And that's the problem with this world. They look at the internet, they scroll till they find what they're looking for, and they click on it and say, oh, there it is, I found it. I don't really believe that. It's one of my biggest pet peeves that I see people in my part of the world do. They'll sit there and they'll go, yeah, man, the Biden crime family, they're a bunch of Satanists, man. Really? How do you know they're Satanists? Well, they met with these people behind closed doors for hours. Well, who were the people? See, that's just it. You don't know. You don't know who they are. They could have been anybody. They could have been Satanists. They could have been anything. And that's the type of people that now Donald Trump is just saying, have fun with it, Bobby. But this is our health that's on the line, and that ain't Democrat or Republican. Again, to any MAGA that made it this far in my video, if your daughter is bleeding out, I want her to have the help she needs. I want her to be able to make the choice for herself what she does with her body, not this freak. This one is the one that I have dreaded doing the most, and this has been the hardest. Anytime I'm just going to go ahead and tell y'all, anytime I'm talking about RFK Jr., in the back of my mind, I'm saying, don't cuss too much because you won't be able to monetize the video. Because I cuss a lot more when I'm just sitting around with my friends. I cuss a whole lot more. I try to dial it back on YouTube because I realize that not everyone appreciates it, and I realize that if I do it, then it's just going to get suppressed and shoved to the bottom, and I want the message to come out. So I try to dial back the F-bombs, but it's really hard when we're talking about this buffoon, this sellout disgrace to the Kennedy name. And well, Bill Maher says he's not too bad. People just makes up stuff about him. He's a fun guy, and I do not want to ever know. Okay, I don't want to know. People say that's very close-minded. You don't ever. I do not ever want to ever get to know the dude or be anywhere near him because I see him for the psychopath that he is. And his family has been trying to tell us for years. This is what Junior's all about. All we can do at this point is just don't get sick, I guess. It's just, again, I'll go before you hear how well that I can string together profanities. I'm kind of like that kid's dad in Christmas Story when, it's just a rough one, folks. It really is. It's a rough one to talk about because I buried two people that buys into that kind of, I heard it on the internet. I'm just quoting from a study. Okay. Well, let's just try to get through it is all I know to say. But I truly appreciate y'all for supporting me here on the channel and subscribing. Appreciate your help. Appreciate all my members out there and all my patrons. For those of you, after some of these videos, if you need to just sit back and relax, I've been posting some more non-political content over on my Patreon. I got it tagged in the description here. Just got one of the new Hagstrom Swede guitars. They're really sweet. And I did an unboxing video that I put over there. So if you just want to hear me sit around and noodle on a Hagstrom Swede instead of after hearing me talk about this, go check it out. And again, I'm just going to keep saying this. Be good to each other. Take care of yourself. Take care of your mental health. Help those around you. Help those in need. And be good to people. It doesn't cost you anything. But it costs a whole lot. It costs a whole lot to get behind insanity like that.